Smith, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and share. The game is up. The game is up for the neoliberals. It's got to be done. You can't threaten the Scots. You could not threaten them. You could tell them all kinds of bad things about banks leaving, prices going up, hot retailers, you know, the NHS collapsing over there, they'll have no army. You can't scare them. You cannot scare the oppressed. You can't. I mean, being poor and free is better than being rich and oppressed, and they're not rich and oppressed. You know, the majority of people are not rich and oppressed, they're poor and oppressed. And you cannot say like that, you know, no matter what, if you take away the whole argument of whether or not the you take away the whole argument of whether or not, you know, they're contributing more per head in tax than they get out of the system compared to the English. You can't even forget that argument. They're getting oppressed. We're getting oppressed from the English are oppressing the English. So obviously the English are going to be oppressing the Scottish as well. You know, the government, neoliberalism, that's oppressing everyone. And you had people on Newsnight last night, Scott, saying what most people think but haven't been pushed to saying yet, which is that neoliberalism has failed the people. You know, you can't trust none of these people in government, the suits. You can't trust none of them. They're failed. Everything they say is just admissible. I mean, people were saying, you know, neoliberalism has failed. We want to build a society not built around the markets, but built around community. I don't want to be a part of a market. I want to be part of my, you know, part of my country, my society. That's what people were saying. Like, the City of London, neoliberalism just turns into a cog in a machine. And you could not threaten the Scots. You can't threaten the oppressed. That's like saying to the people in Gaza, you know, alright, Palestinians, you can have your own country, but, you know, you might not be able to look after yourselves economically, or, you know, your hospitals might be a bit shoddy. Of course they're going to go for the freedom option, no matter what bad stuff you throw at them. You couldn't say to like the black slaves, alright, we'll free you, but, you know, you're going to have to look after yourselves now, and the master's not going to feed you anymore. Of course they're going to try and look after themselves, regardless of what the other thing is that you throw at them. Just makes no sense how they can, you know, they say that Alex Salmond is a neoliberal and he'll do the same things, but like, they're neoliberals as well. So what's the argument there? What is the argument there? Like, David Cameron would go to Scotland and say, you know, these are all the bad things that have happened under Cameron, they're going to happen under Alex Salmond as well. So you're admitting that you're doing bad stuff, but you're not willing to change it. There's got to be a way to change. No, you can't. It's just, it doesn't make sense. There's always going to be someone at the top in control. I mean, in Scotland, they've got the hell of a lot more chance of building, you know, a just civil society where people are rewarded for their hard work. They've got the hell of a lot more chance doing that with independence than they would without. You know, David Cameron saying, we can change, we can do this, we can do that. So why aren't you doing it already? Someone on Newsnight last night, this historian, I'm not sure who it was, he said, of course everyone wants social justice, he said he hasn't met anyone that was against social justice. So if everyone is for social justice, why is there no social justice in this country? It's because the people at the top, they don't give a fuck about social justice. They don't care. They just want money. That's all they care about is GDP, the FTSE 100, the stock exchange. You know, is England growth? That's what they care about. They don't care about individuals, as long as overall the machine works, and the machine works well. That's the bottom line of neoliberalism. And to say neoliberalism has failed, I think is not true, because the people that invented it, you know, the people that were pushing it, the top of the government who installed this neoliberalism, like Thatcher and Reagan and all those right-wingers, they're the ones that have benefited from it. You know, the think tanks that fought this were corporate institutions. They pushed this on the governments. They're benefiting from it, you know. Neoliberalism has won for them. It wasn't ever designed to win for us. It was designed to win for the people at the top, and that's exactly what it's done. It's just stupid. A vote for independence, you know, in Scotland is basically saying, fuck you, Westminster, go away. You failed us, you know. You've had a good long bash at it. You've had a really, really long bash of it, but, you know, we're not having any more, and we'd rather go on our own and be independent and, you know, take a bit of a risk to get away from you scumbags, to get away from, like, the corruption, the greed, just the elitism, stealing. That's what they're getting away from. Could be the beginning of the end, but, you know, if they vote yes, people are going to realise democracy, when applied properly, works. When you're given the right question, you know, the questions that they're giving us at the minute, what do you want to choose from, Conservative or Labour? That's the wrong question. That is the wrong question. Fair enough, we've got a choice, but it's the wrong question. When they start asking the right questions and democracy, the people speak and answer, that's when we'll get progress. But those questions, they're not on the table. And an independence question for Scotland, that's got to be the biggest political question that I'll probably, if I can see more progress than this in my lifetime, I'll be extremely happy. You know, you just got to hope that it snowballs, that people will realise we can make a change. And if they see Scotland independent, flourishing, away from Westminster, away from, like, Cameron and the Conservatives and the fucking failed Labour Party, maybe they'll see, you know, there is another way. There is another way. It doesn't have to be austerity. It doesn't have to be permanent austerity. There's a way where money, instead of being at the top, sucked up, is distributed. You know, it's not all about the bottom line every time. It's about people's happiness, people's lives. That is what the Conservative Party, MPs, Westminster, that is what they don't understand. It's about people's lives, not money, their lives.